Welcome to Make a Difference with Phil Martelli. He is Phil Martelli. I am Jared Phillips. We have another amazing guest coming up in this episode, right at a perfect time, at a time that we'll get to because we know you're excited
conversation about Red October, and we address the people.
We meet the moment for sure.
We really have to do that,
and it's a guest that has simply always met the moment in big time moments for that team. And for that month, but we will get there in just a moment because there's a lot that's going on in the next month, and we want to kind of break that open a little bit. Obviously, in the last episode, we talked quite a bit about the Philadelphia Coaching Academy as that's starting to get rolling, and you wanted to talk a little bit more about what that means, where it came from, and just kind of where it's going.
Sure. The idea of Make the Difference, the podcast, the guest, the speaking engagements that I have, it's all been focused on Make a Difference. And last spring I was sitting in church and turned around, and the CYO coach from St. Mary Magdalene was sitting in there, a Penn great, Brian Grandieri. And I asked him what certifications he needed to be a coach in the Philadelphia area, in the youth leagues in the area, wherever that would be. And he said background checks and FBI checks. And it got me thinking. When you were dropped off at school, the fourth grade teacher had the background checks, the FBI checks, and had a certification to teach you in math, or to teach you in social sciences, or to teach you in science or languages or whatever it would be. But when your mother or father dropped you off for practice, they knew that there was a caring adult who had background checks, but what certification to run a practice. So I started to run this idea through my head of putting together an academy where we did a clinic, and in different parts of the city, in different parts of the region, and showed those coaches, not X's and O's, but how do you run a practice? How do you engage 20 kids? And so we build it, and we build it, and we are going to open at 4 locations. It's a 3-hour clinic, and you don't have to go the next week and the next week and next week. One of these 4 spots, Archbishop Ryan on October the 4th, October the 11th at Archbishop Wood, October 19th for Monsignor Bonner. And just a quick caveat there. October 19th, I know. Not only do you have to go to Mass, those of you that are Catholic, but the Birds play on Sundays. What am I doing? Well, the Birds play at 1:00 at Minnesota. The academy will be 10 to 2 at Monsignor Bonner. So
10 to 2 or
10 to 2, 3 hours.
That's 4 hours.
Oh, it's 10 to 1 then.
10 to 1.
10 to 1.
Checking the math.
Or it could be 11 to 2. I have to check on that. It's 11 to 2, right? And just as an editorial, the way they played a half a game last week and a half a game this week. So you'll be all right for that. But that's for another time.
We'll get there.
And then the School of the Future is on a Saturday, 9 to 12. We're going to start at 9. We're going to end at 12. No stories, no yuck it up, no feel goods, that kind of thing. Drills to allow you to run a practice. We will have high school coaches present. I'll present. And then we're going to have a high school team go through the actual 1-hour practice. And then when you get dropped off, when my grandson gets dropped off, when our guest son gets dropped off, he knows that for 1 hour, they're going to go through these drills. I am beyond excited. I get that it's late, that it's tight, but we're going to start it. And then next year, you're going to have to get in early because you might not get a seat at next year's event, because I believe that this is so big. And all I want to do is fuel the energy and the passion that people have to help kids. Let me help you, right? Perfect your practice. That's what we're looking to do. Perfect your practice. It's going to be all over. It's been all over social media. We are reaching out to youth groups all throughout the Delaware Valley, CYO, middle school coaches really want to put an emphasis on the powerful middle school coaches in Philadelphia. There's 100 teams in Philadelphia in the public schools. CYO, and you can be 5th and 6th grade, 7th and 8th grade, boys, girls, A team, B team, travel teams, in-house teams. We want to present the way to perfect your practices. And I'm sure on our social media, we'll put out how you get more information, but it's all online. We got Venmo. And we want to make this affordable. So it's $50 for an individual coach. But if you have 6 coaches to 10 coaches in an organization, it's $40. If you have 11 coaches and more from an organization, it's $30. And it's 3 hours. No fluff. No fluff. No waste of your time or extension of your time. And then we'll advance it. The academy idea of, do we put out a drill a week? But for right now, 4 sites, Ryan, Wood, Bonner, School of the Future, 3 hours. And I'm really excited about it. If you can't tell.
It is very exciting. It is on our social media, your social media as well. If you're at Phil Martelli on Twitter or at Phil_Martelli on Instagram, as well as at Make a Difference Pod, you can find more information as well as a link to sign up for the clinic as well. So if you're looking at our social medias, you'll be able to find all the information that you need in order to sign up and be a part of something that I think is going to continue to grow and build and be special.
No question. And it'll be the Martelli 3 hours as opposed to the Martelli Minute, which is still available 6:30 on Instagram, Phil_Martelli. And we just give you a thought to get your day started. Status Solutions is still involved with us. Status Solutions brings safety technology to schools, and it allows communities to engage with their local schools in making sure that the precious gift that we all have been given with children, that they are safe. And we all know, we read the news, you hear the news, we need this more than ever. SafetySolutions.com to help our kids. But here they are, the Martelli Minute. When is it? 6:30.
Every morning on Instagram, at Phil_Martelli.
Avoid the noise. Silence can truly be golden as long as you fear not being still. Never trade your convictions, beliefs, and your purpose for popularity, then to be really like in like this, and for likes. Get it? Like the social media likes. So again, never trade your convictions, beliefs, and your purpose for popularity or likes. Got a lot of people doing that. Allow all challenges to lift you, not defeat you. Getting knocked down is not the worst thing that can happen to you. It can be the best thing that happens to you as long as you don't stay down. Get knocked down, we're all going to get knocked down. But your strength is in getting up and getting moving. Do not stay down. Asking for help is a strength of character. The Martelli Minute, every morning, 6:30, free. There's nothing involved there. Like, it's just out there. What are we trying to do? We're trying to make a difference with the Martelli Minute. And man, are we ready to go on this one?
I know you're pumped.
This is a big one.
Yeah.
Can you imagine at this time of the year, we're blessed to have a baseball lifer who did one of the most has a remarkable achievement that people don't think about. But if you go around and say, who replaced Johnny Carson and how did they do? Right? Who replaced John Wooden and how did they do? and just fill in the legend, right? The poor guy that coaches Alabama football replaced Nick Saban. And it's a little rocky because he didn't make the playoffs this, right? And they had people volunteering, I think it's $70 million to buy him out this year.
They're donating money to buy him out.
Seamlessly, our guest replaced a legend in this town. To be the voice of the Philadelphia fan, to be the voice that freezes people to see what he had to say about a particularly big moment. And a Philadelphian who he and his wife are involved in every activity in the Philadelphia area. And he wasn't born here. Probably has a Delco accent, like he could appear in Task and Mayor of Easttown. This is beyond the scope for me. Going into Red October, who better than to have our guest with us, Scott Franzke. Scott, thanks for joining Make a Difference.
Thank you, fellas. Quite an intro.
I
don't know that I could do the Delco accent, but I love the show Task and Mayor of Easttown.
Oh my goodness gracious. This guy, Task is, have you seen it?
I haven't yet. I loved Mayor of Easttown.
Oh, Scott, he's like the guy, if they could give him Swoops, he would wear Swoops costume like 24 hours a day. But
I haven't seen Task yet, and I don't want to put a certain older brother on blast, but I'm getting one of those HBO too many device notifications when I tried to hit play out the other night. Yeah, I gotta talk to Big Bro and
Task is,
free up some HBO access.
I don't know. There are so many storylines. You're going to be blown away.
Mark Ruffalo was at the game on Sunday.
I heard that.
Yeah, Tom Pelfrey was at the Phillies game the other night, along with Brad Inglesby, who writes the show and was the creator. We got a chance. John Brazier, John Brazier. Yes. He brought him into the office, so we got a chance to say hi to those guys. I told them what a big fan I was of the previous show and the new one. It's terrific.
Scott, take us through your journey to Philadelphia. How'd you get here today?
I kind of just worked my way up the ranks, to be honest with you. I went to SMU, grew up in Texas, and went to SMU and was doing broadcast, I really wanted to be a sports writer when I got started. But I got a job in radio and I needed a job. So I stayed with it. It was mostly talk radio. And I did a lot of events on the side. Texas is big for its high school football. And I was doing a high school football broadcast every Friday night somewhere around Dallas and Fort Worth and, the outlying suburbs and whatnot. And kind of led me to a part-time role doing pre and post game with the Rangers. And in talking with those announcers, those guys, I had expressed an interest and really wanted to try to do baseball. And they said, well, if you want to do that, you should probably go to the minor leagues and learn how to do it. Do it every single day because it is every single day. You might not like it, that kind of thing. You might not be any good at it. And I loved it. I mean, I went and did minor league baseball near Chicago, Illinois, a place called Kane County, Illinois, and the Kane County Cougars. And I was there for 3 years. It was a great experience. Did every inning, every game all by myself, and traveled around on the buses with the guys. And it was a really cool experience. And that led me back to Texas as a pre and post fill in extra, kind of the third announcer when guys had days off. And I was there for 3 or 4 years, and the Phillies opportunity presented itself, chance to do innings, play-by-play every single day. And so I moved up here and took a chance on that. And it's been a great ride. I just finished my 20th year. So 20th season.
Wow. There's a lot as a baseball kind of geeky guy. I have to hear about Nolan Ryan. Like, what was that like?
Yeah.
But so you've been places. What truly is the difference about this Philadelphia passion? How do really over this past weekend almost 120,000 people show up on games like, let's call it the way it is,
Yeah.
meaningless,
Right.
right? What is it about this, and how does it how have you captured it?
Well, I mean, obviously people care. And it was pretty evident right from the start. I mean, I think I've told this story before, but it was 2007, and the Phillies were kind of making their run in September. And I remember my wife pointed out to me she had taken a picture of a park bench. I think it was somewhere over in West Fairmount Park, and somebody had spray painted a Phillies logo on the bench, and you would be around town and all the buses said "Go Phillies" or "Go Eagles." You know, the little little digital board at the front of the bus. And it was really obvious right away how much it mattered to people. I mean, you can listen to talk radio if you want, and you can hear how fired up people get. But you see it in the stands, and you see it. There's the regular core group of fans, right, that are always there, win, lose, or draw. There's a whole nother level of fans that obviously wants to see a winner and wants to see a competitive team. But it was pretty obvious from the start that this was more, I grew up in a place where the Rangers, I was a big baseball fan, and the Rangers were more of a pastime until the Cowboys season started. And as soon as training camp began, whatever the Rangers did was sort of, okay, whatever, they won, they lost, big deal. What's Aikman doing this week? Or going back even further, what's Staubach or Danny White, or what's the story with, Tony Dorsett? And it just didn't matter on the same level like it does here. And I know it's the same in a lot of other, East Coast markets, Boston, New York, Philly, they're all very, very similar in that regard. But, you just, you realize right away that it matters to them. And so it better matter to you as somebody doing the games. Because if it doesn't matter to you, that's going to show up on the air. And I do think fans appreciate the idea that you feel the same way they do about their team, whether that's good or bad or frustrated or elated or whatever it is. But I think they want to share that emotion with somebody, and you're kind of that conduit.
The last several weeks, when Tom McCarthy goes to do NFL football, you've done television. What's the differences in preparation, in verbiage?
Yeah.
From doing radio to TV or TV to radio? Is there a difference?
Yeah, there's a difference for sure. I've always kind of looked at, I mean, you're still making calls, you're still doing play-by-play to an extent, but I think more than anything, you're trying to drive some kind of a conversation with your partner. And radio doesn't allow for that, like it once did. I mean, with the pitch clock nowadays, radio is really tight. There's not a lot of time to veer off the path and do different things. I think it's, it makes the game move a lot quicker for sure. But for us as radio announcers, stories you wanted to tell or background information you wanted to deliver, there's so much less time to be able to do that. And on TV, I think there's a certain relaxed pace to it that you can let the pictures show what's happening and still continue to tell your story or to have your conversation with your partner. So I think more of the prep becomes a lot of the, all right, what are some of the topics we might want to cover today? And I don't want to call it a talk show, but it is a little more geared towards that, right? What questions can I ask Kruk or Ruben or Ben that they might have some insight on? Some of that is happening before the game, just to give you something to use. A lot of that is happening in game during the flow of what's happening on the field.
Scott, I've always thought, or just kind of, coming up through the ranks in my own career, just as a sports reporter and anchor and things like that, I always felt like basketball or one of these more fast-paced sports were so difficult to call because of the speed of the game. And I kind of had an interesting perspective put on me, and I want to see if you agree with it, that really baseball can be the most difficult because of the space you have to fill, like the way you have to let the game breathe. And as you mentioned, between radio and television, having to shift gears even within the same sport. I mean, have you ever felt that way, or you just, because you've done multiple sports, but do you feel like baseball can be the most challenging because of the way you kind of have to paint that picture and set that scene and let things breathe and work in that space?
I think absolutely there can be an element of that. There's a lot more room to say something stupid. Whereas in basketball, I mean, now I did a lot of basketball when I was young. Since I started with the Phillies, I've done one basketball game. And I filled in doing a Penn game at the Palestra. So at least I got to go to the Palestra and do a
Nothing
game.
wrong with that.
Yeah, exactly. And I remember it had been, this is probably 2017 or 2018, somewhere in that range. And so it had been well over a decade since I'd done a basketball game. And I did a lot of basketball games, at SMU. That's how I got started. That was the first sport I ever did, was basketball. And it was so fast. I mean, that first half went by like that. It was so quick. And yes, there's the thing it allows you. I'm not saying basketball's easier or harder, because I haven't done enough to really maybe make that judgment. You listen to a really great basketball announcer on the radio like Tom McGinnis, and you understand, in order to analyze and in order to give you color and in order to give you a story that presents kind of maybe a human side of a player, he has to be ready to go with that stuff. There's no sort of meandering around and, okay, here's the fifth foul ball. Let me get to this story. And, you know what I mean? You have to be ready to do those things. So there's more space to fill with ancillary stuff, I think, in baseball, but I don't know that it makes it easier or harder. I think they all present their own type of challenges.
Scott, I will echo your thought there. When I looked at the schedule and I did my first game was Seton Hall, Fordham at Seton Hall. And I almost got physically ill looking at this thing and saying, so I have to talk for 2.5 hours. Now I have a lot of stories and I can talk, but I have to catch them in these catchphrases. And I'm speaking to somebody that I don't really know.
Right.
I'm just meeting this guy. And then after a while, I was like, oh, no, I get it.
Yeah.
Let the game talk, and you can fill in, but be ready.
Sure.
Be ready. Like, whatever. There was a kid from Fordham whose father played on the great UNLV teams. Well, I just held it until it was the right time.
Sure.
I didn't have to like force it in, like, oh, he just committed his third foul and his father must be really upset with him.
Well, and I think that's part of it. I mean, that goes to the prep part of it, right? You have all these things every single game that you never ever use. Because I think you get into trouble if, like you said, you're trying to force all this stuff in there, then it can sometimes feel forced. Whereas if you just have this sort of well of, this reservoir of nuggets or facts or stories or whatever you want to call it, and you let it sort of come about as the flow of the game. I mean, I've always been a big believer, at least with baseball, the game will dictate what you do.
Wow.
And if it's 4-3 in the eighth inning, you're talking about the game, and you're talking about the strategy, and you're talking about the skill, or, in some cases, the lack thereof of a play or a player. But if it's 12-2 in the eighth inning, well, now obviously you're going to start talking about the kid's dad who, played at UNLV, right? So you wait, you let the game be the game first, and then you can get into all the other things, whether it's, your own personality or their personality, you know, the players and the people around the game.
I'm amazed at trying to understand this lifestyle. So let's be conservative with spring training, postseason. You're dedicated to baseball 200 nights a year.
Right.
How do you balance like being a wonderful community guy, great husband, great father, involved father? How does that all balance out with the length of a baseball season?
Well, it doesn't, quite frankly. You know, the weight is on baseball, and then on my end, and then the weight becomes more on my wife and family on the home front side. So I'll be honest with you, and I know you know him really well, but Tom McCarthy, he's a little ahead of me in terms of, you know, his kids are a little older now, but I watched him for a long time, and I watched how he would take, if it was an afternoon that he could take, that was 2 or 3 hours, right, to see a game of his boys or his daughters. He would do that, and he would find a way to fit that in. And sometimes it can be, you know, my kids grew up in this, right? My son was born in 2010. I'd already been here. They don't know any other life, right? They've never known a life with me there nonstop 365 days a year. So they've grown up getting somewhat accustomed to it. I'm not saying they like it. And it's a sacrifice for them as well. But I think we've tried to impress upon them, my wife and I, just, you have to take some of the good, you know, you take the good with some of the bad, right? My son is also, and my daughters, but they've all sort of had the door open to some pretty unique opportunities for, you know, as growing up. You know, my son's an avid baseball player now, and my son has gotten all sorts of one-on-one advice from ex-major league players over the years, right? He's got their cell phone numbers now. He's texting them for tips on what to do in the cage, right? So that's a unique side of this life that not everybody gets to enjoy. And so again, you try to make the most of it. We have a lot of off days on the road to start road trips nowadays. So like, let's say the Phillies finish a homestand on a Sunday, team flies out to Chicago. They spend their off day Monday in Chicago. Well, over the last few years, as my kids have gotten older, I make more of a point to stay home and fly out Tuesday morning by myself and not go with the team. And so I'm home Sunday night, and I'm home all day Monday. And maybe I get to catch that, you know, that high school game or the little league game or you know, karate practice or whatever the case might be.
Yeah, I agree with you on like how you make it fit, because there are a lot of sacrifices, but the benefits, like I would say to people, yeah, I did a lot where I was coaching other people's kids, but my children went to Italy twice, right? They went with the team, and I used to always judge my players on how they interacted with other families, and you make such a great point. So the joy, Larry Anderson and John, what is this real? Like, what comes through is that this is just two guys. You could be there at the ballpark. You could be on the road when Larry would travel. You could be on the road. But if we drove up to Barnaby's on Westchester Pike, you would be sitting in there having the same kind of conversations. Is that true?
Yeah. Yeah. They're pretty genuine. And I was told years ago when I got into the radio business, they said, it was in a talk show format, but I think the same applies. If you're going to spend that many hours broadcasting to somebody and going into somebody's home, so to speak, or into their cars, you better be yourself. If that's not who you are, that will come out someday, right? Who you really are will come out. And so be who you are when you're on the air. And I think John and I mean, if you were to go into our office before a game, and we all share an office, for those who don't know, all the broadcasters, TV and radio, we have a little sort of a cubbyhole office, and we're all in there before the games. And the conversations, people are coming in and out all the time, and the conversations could be about baseball, they can be about life, our kids, different things happening around the world or whatever. But that's who those guys are. And yeah, they like the game. They like to talk about the game. They have a ton of stories about the game and the people they played with and the people they played against. And I think what you get on the air, and again, I don't see or hear a lot of John Kruk. I hear clips now and then, as some of the off the wall stuff he comes up with. Let me assure you, there's plenty of off the wall stuff off the air that he comes up with too. So I would say it's probably all pretty well genuine.
Well, that's a beautiful thing. Scott, most memorable call for you?
Oof. I've been really lucky to be there for some amazing things. Whether it was the run in 22 to get to the World Series, or, watching Roy Halladay throw a no-hitter in the playoffs. Jimmy Rollins, Matt Stairs, those moments from the early days. Halladay's perfect game. I don't know. It's kind of hard to rank them. I've said this a few times. One of my favorite calls was Eric Bruntlett with an unassisted triple play to end a game in New York. And the reason I say that is because, well, you never see it, but I can assure you that is a call I have never practiced. You get to call 100 home runs when you're in the minor leagues, and you can try all sorts of different ways. And if you want to try out a catchphrase or whatever, you can do that. But good luck finding an unassisted triple play to practice on in real time, because it's not going to happen. And I was just really excited when I listened back. I had called a triple play, like a basic around the horn 5-4-3 triple play. I think it was my first year on the air with the Phillies. If memory serves, we were in Cincinnati, and I just botched the call. I don't remember. I was so floored. I was like, oh my gosh, it's a triple play. Like you're counting the outs in your head. But the Bruntlett one, I was really excited because I had, as a radio announcer, I had the description of where guys were and where the ball was, and I got all three outs, and I got them in the correct order that they were recorded. So
wow.
So that I'm kind of weirdly proud of something like that.
And the post game. So you do 162 post game on the radio for over all these years, and then you've done recent TV. What's the most memorable post game interview you've done? Not counting Castellanos last week.
Well, you know what's funny about Castellanos, and he and I actually talked at length about it the next day. And Nick. As I told Nick, I said, Nick, you're not an easy interview, but you're a really good interview. And I told him the reason why I thought that is because he has shared with us some of the most human stories over the years. And he doesn't dig the hey, what a great game, what did you think? Right? He just doesn't go for that. Right. And that's fine. We all know that now. But what he does is he gives us human stories. And I know, and I shared this with him last week, or whenever it was, a couple of weeks ago. And when we were talking about it, and I said, when you were struggling last year, he was really struggling at the plate. And we went to Miami, and he had a big hit late in the game, a home run, I think.
Yes.
In Miami. And, that's where he's from. And he's got all his family there. And he came on with us, and he told the story about how this is getting to him. And the slump was really eating at him. and all he wanted to do was perform. And he's wandering. He draws the picture for us. He actually paints this picture for us of him walking around in his living room and hitting balled up socks right through in the living room with his son, and how that helped him and helped him center him, and how it helped ground him, and he felt like it helped get him back on track. The interview he gave when he won the game against the Mets in the playoffs last year was phenomenal, and it brought tears to my eyes, just about as a father myself, but talking about that moment when he ran up to the net and he was face to face with his son Liam, and he said, years from now, when all the cheering is gone, my son and I are still going to have that moment. And it still makes me emotional to think about it, right? And I told him, I said, what you said in that interview in Arizona that was so human to me was the comment he made about getting the text message that he wasn't in the lineup the next day. And I think as anybody who ever played, or anybody who has kids who play the game, if you get that moment where the lineup's out and you're not in it, or your kid isn't in it, it can hurt, right?
Yes.
It hurts because all you want to do is play, or all you want to do is see your kid play, or to use that analogy. So I told him, I said, man, I was so flat-footed when you said that, because to me it was a really clear picture of a guy who wanted to play and was being told he wasn't going to play, and how much that hurt him. So, I honestly think back on some of those as being pretty memorable.
All right, here we go. You ready? It's Red October. Who do I want here, Scott? I want to play the Dodgers or the Reds?
I don't know. I think that's a dangerous game. I think you want the Phillies to swing the bats better than they did the last week of the season.
Amen.
Even
the night with the 8 home runs, they had 3 other hits.
Right. They scored, all the runs came via the homer. That generally doesn't get you by in the postseason. It can, it might, but I do think you're going to need to be able to string together some rallies, and I think the thing we saw over the last week is guys started to chase a little bit out of the strike zone, and I don't know what the reason for that is. It could be things were kind of locked up team wise, right? They might have caught the Brewers, right? Let's say they had a chance to catch the Brewers.
Yes.
But mathematically speaking, it was a long shot. So you might have had guys in those final few days, Schwarber, maybe he expands a little bit because he's trying to chase down Ryan Howard. Maybe Harper wants to try to get to 30, a last ditch attempt to get to 30 homers, or whatever that number, that personal number. And I'm not saying they did specifically, but you did see a little more chase, and that's not going to play well if you do that, starting on Saturday against whoever it is, the Dodgers or the Reds. I think the Dodgers are a better team. I don't think there's any question. I think the Dodgers are a really, really good team. And I think the winner of that series has, if it is the Phillies and Dodgers, has a really good chance to go to the World Series.
That top 4 with the Dodgers.
Wow. Yeah, really good. The offense and on the mound.
that top 4 is really something.
I don't know. Who do you want to play?
I'm with you. I'm more worried about the Phillies.
Right.
And again, this is amateur, fan sitting, screaming on every pitch, send the guy down if he throws a ball, and DFA him if he makes an out. Like, and again, it could be overanalyzing, but it was as I'm watching, and I'm watching that Mets series last year and the Arizona series, the squeezing of the bat, you could almost see the bat breaking down. They're squeezing so hard, and it's at those moments, like in Philadelphia. Let's say in Philadelphia, It's Saturday afternoon, and it's Christopher Sanchez against Otani. That first at bat, I'm going to be like a wreck. That whole first at bat until they just get going. But
well, I think, as you know,
I just want the Phil. I want the Phillies to be out there because I believe that they have championship DNA.
yeah, I mean, I think I'm sure you've been in those moments as a coach when you say we're more talented than this other team. Now, it doesn't mean we're going to play better, but we're more talented. And I do think if the Phillies play reasonably close to their ability, they're absolutely one of the 2-3 best teams in all of baseball, and they have plenty enough to win it, even without Zach Wheeler. I think they're good enough to win it all. I don't know if they will, but I do think if they play good baseball and play better, than we saw the last week or so, they can play with anybody. So it'll be interesting to see. The Dodgers will not be easy if it turns out to be them.
And then the other thing, Scott, is it ends up being personal for me because I get it. I know that 365 days a year, we talk around here about the backup long snapper and we worry about the offensive coordinator I get it. And everybody will say it's an Eagles town. I will die on this hill. There is nothing in Philadelphia that compares to a stretch of playoff baseball because it's every day or it's every other day. And it's a series and I get it. And when you go to that ballpark and you see a family from North Philly and you see young college girls and you see this bus that drove down from Scranton, that's not the same thing. You get the same 65,000 people every week for an Eagles game, and they're passionate and they love it. But to me, I can't wait for the next 3 weeks. I will not sleep over these next 3 weeks. Worrying.
I might not much either, but yeah. I'm with you. I mean, I think it's obviously a passionate football town beyond measure as well. But I do think you highlight the fact that it's every day, and as you get into a September run or an October run, it's an everyday thing, and that's hard to replicate in sports. In any other environment. So it's maddening, it's excruciating, it's exhilarating. If you reach the pinnacle like they did way back in 2008, you see what the city looks like and the way the parade turns out and all those other things. It's pretty meaningful to the city, and let's hope it's a long run.
I sure hope so.
Yeah.
Final 2 questions. One is, you said it earlier, if you could amplify on this idea, the responsibility that you have or you feel to really make a difference. There's somebody out there sitting in their kitchen.
Yeah.
Who you're making a difference. How do you take that responsibility on, Scott?
It's really humbling, and sometimes it takes a reminder now and then. But I try to remember, based on stories I've heard over the years, people with ailing parents, for instance, they're listening in a hospital bed somewhere. Mm-hmm. I've been told stories before of children with developmental disabilities, and there's something about putting the Phillies game on the radio that calms them or soothes them. And that hits you in the gut. And you realize it's more than just, hey, we want to tune in and find out what the score is. Mm-hmm. There is that, sure. There's a lot of people that are just jumping in the car and running an errand, and they're checking on the score. But there's a lot of people out there that it means a lot to, and different people have sent me letters and reached out to me in different ways over the years to let me know that. And that's a really humbling experience. So I try to remember that. And I try to remember, it's a job, right? My job is a job. And there are days that it's a really great job. And it's one that a lot of people would trade with me in an instant, their job for mine. And I try to remember that for a lot of people, we go on the air and we present a way for them to maybe forget about stuff for a while, right?
Yes.
They've got stuff going on at work or at home or paying the bills or whatever, and they just want to sit on the porch for a couple hours or an hour, or whatever time they can grant themselves, and they just want to be transported to the ballpark for a little bit. So I always try to remember that if and Larry and I have said it for years, if we're not going to have fun, if we're not going to enjoy what we're doing, we certainly can't ask a listener to enjoy it.
Beautiful. Last question on this Make a Difference podcast. Scott Franzke, who's made a difference in your life?
My wife has made a big difference in my life. She is out and about in the community. She, wherever we have lived, whatever job she has done, she's been, on a fundraising side for many years of different organizations, whether it's the zoo or the Franklin Institute or the Girl Scouts, and now with Fairmount Park. The way she instills this in our children, this idea of service and this idea of making a difference for people less fortunate, it's pretty impressive to watch the way she goes about that and still has time to actually do her job and deal with an absentee spouse who's on the road, as you said, half the year. Yeah, she's pretty inspiring lady. So yeah, she's made a big difference in my life.
Scott, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I'm an every pitch guy.
All right.
Spring training to the very end. I sure hope I see you on Broad Street.
I hope we'll be there. I really do. Let's hope it's a long run. And yeah, I mean, it's kind of been building here for a few years. Let's hope they finally, break it through to the finish line.
Scott, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, my pleasure. Great to chat with you guys.
There's your Red October fix right there, man.
No, and keep going. 24,000 tickets sold to an inter squad scrimmage on Wednesday. Really? Like it's
lunatics.
It's and I've told you that story before. There's just something about these broadcasters. They are one of us, this team. And I sure hope I can make it through 9 innings on Saturday and keep going from there. So, you know what they say when Topper asked JT, how many? 11. 11. Think about it. You can go, they can go 11-8 and they'll be the world champions, which is a lower percentage than what they've done over 162 games.
It's a good way to look at it. Yeah.
That's the way I deal.
Incredible stuff though from Scott. I mean, like you mentioned, it's fascinating. They really are a lifeline into the game. They transport you to the ballpark, and it's to hear from these people that have really painted a picture and really told that story for as many years as he has, for as many years as Tom has. It's so fascinating. And we've now had them both on right around the, and I
think this is our 52nd episode.
This is our 52nd episode.
I think our first guest was Tom McCarthy.
That's correct.
Wow.
That's correct. So coming up on next week will be 1 year. Wow. 1 year of Make a Difference podcast. So it's very fun to kind of come full circle with the Phillies broadcasters as October, rears its head. And our thanks to him again. That was terrific stuff.
Absolutely. And be interesting to hear his calendar. Where have you been? And he would have to lay it all out. And
well, where he's he been is
Yeah.
you should look at the Phillies schedule, and
that's it.
where
There you
he's
go.
been.
There you go.
Speaking of,
Yes. So where have I been? I had a 2-day trip down to VCU, met with the coaching staff, watched practice, a lot of enthusiasm. And I took a different path this time. I drove, and I enjoyed that. I did enjoy making that ride down and back. Got back and was able to do the podcast with Christine Lobley, Fred's Footsteps. Very, very impressive. Added to our list. Had a chance to go to Atlantic City. How about a little trip down to Atlantic City to see a comedian, Sebastian Maniscalco? Funny, very, very interesting. Entertained a lot of people, met a lot of people. A lot of people give me shout outs, walking to my seat. And I certainly enjoyed that. It was a late birthday present or delayed birthday present. So I had that chance. And
can I ask though? I'm interested. You've been to Atlantic City a million times. Yeah, Boardwalk Hall, all that. I mean, probably the first time you ever been for a comedy show, right?
No, actually, dear friends of ours, 2 or 3 summers ago, we went to see Seinfeld.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
And the thing that captured you about Seinfeld, no foul language. Laughs, but no foul language. So I have had that chance. And I wonder how that works. Like, how do you get up there in front of 3,500 people, whatever number of people? And what if you drop one and how do you recover, like, or how do you keep going?
It's pressure. I can't.
And how do you memorize like the order of your stuff?
It's people think you just get up there and talk. No, it's so much more. The preparation that goes into that is unbelievable.
And then Saturday night, this is another one that goes in the book. I was inducted into the Philadelphia Black Basketball Hall of Fame. I can't even paint the picture of what that room was like. But if you take in Wally Jones was there and came over to say hello. Leading NBA officials, Joe Crawford, Eddie Malloy, Ed Rush, Steve Javie, they were in that room. Who's who that played basketball in Philadelphia and run by the dearest of dear friends, Mo Howard, who played with me at St. Joe's Prep. And Herb McGee was one of the inductees, and the names and the stories, it was a chill. And I finished my remarks, and it just came to me. I was up there and said, I had a lot of opportunities in basketball and through basketball and all these different stories. But this is Philadelphia, and Dorothy is absolutely right in The Wizard of Oz. There's no place like home. There was no place other to be than to be there. And maybe we'll get a picture of the basketball that I was given, everybody's names on there. Tremendous women's players, national champions, world champions. I am still thrilled over having had that wonderful opportunity. Went to a mass on Sunday at Camilla Hall, or as we said last week, the family saint and Sister Marita Jean, Aunt Patsy. I was delighted to be able to have that opportunity. Really, really fortunate to have all of these wonderful opportunities. And as you say, and I only get them because I'm retired, right? somebody will say, well, can we fill him in along the way? So thank you to everybody out there and to these opportunities, so I can continue to add continue to add to my book. And then actually it slows down. Just a little slowdown. Because now where will I go? Where am I going? The great Don DeJulia is hosting a luncheon. I have to make time to get in there. 2 funerals. Dr. Al Padicino, wonderful friend, someone to St. Joe Prep with my boys, season ticket holder at St. Joseph's. Just saw him 2 weeks ago at a speaking engagement. I'll be going to his funeral. Bob Palestini, Dr. Bob Palestini, ran the education department at St. Joseph's, was a basketball coach at Cardinal O'Hara High School, and I'll be able to attend at least his viewing. We're going to talk about, again, the academy. Can't wait to get that going. And then Phillies playoffs. I'll be front and center, Phillies playoffs, with a little stopover. Made Hoops is running a basketball camp at the Philadelphia Sixth Man Center, and I'm hoping to stop in there Saturday or Sunday to just see how things are going there. The idea of basketball now almost all year round, high school basketball. We've talked about this, and I like to take a peek and see how things are progressing in the game. It's one of the reasons that the academy, to me, is a way to grow the game. If we can prepare our young players so that they have joy, and then the handful that are fortunate enough to be able to play in high school will be able to have that chance. But all the time, just want to be here to make a difference. And if I can make a difference with you, or you can make a difference with us, reaching out with a suggestion for a guest, right? Next week's guest, we go back into the educational world. One of the leading superintendents in all of the Delaware Valley is going to join us next week. And we're going to continue to make that difference. And if you think we can, or you think there's a company that could align with us to make a difference, please reach out. We answer everything, and we are looking to grow this, right? 52 episodes in. Not one has disappointed.
Absolutely not.
Not one. And the idea of growing this and spreading the idea so that you can go out and make a difference in your family, your community, your church, your charitable endeavors, and we can help you with that. Count us in.
That's exactly right. And the easiest way to make a difference, head on over to pnjmakeadifference.com. That's where you can read more about what Phil is hoping to do with his Make a Difference initiative. And as we spoke before, the Philadelphia Coaching Academy. If you keep an eye on our social media pages, at Make a Difference Pod or at Phil Martelli, Phil_Martelli on Instagram. That is where you can find more information about the Philadelphia Coaching Academy, where coaches can sign up at the middle school and grade school level, the CYO level, to learn how to perfect their practice. Once again, we are at Make a Difference Pod on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube, at Make a Diff Pod on X, Make a Difference with Phil Martelli on Facebook. He is at Phil_Martelli on Instagram, and that is where you can find the Martelli Minute every morning at 6:30 a.m. If you're watching on YouTube, we would really, really appreciate if you liked and subscribed. And if you were giving us a 5-star rating on Spotify or Apple or wherever you are listening to your podcast, we greatly, greatly appreciate that. Our thanks again to Scott Franzke. I mean, just terrific, terrific stuff from a guy who was his life's going to be a little crazy for the next month.
Let's hope so.
We hope it's the next month.
And we hope that our lives are crazy. So we didn't even get into this, but there was another Eagle fan takeover of a stadium. I at some point we have to dig into that. We have to find the people that. How do they do that? You have any idea how that works?
There's a few organizations. We were part of one for my 21st birthday down in Carolina. Didn't go so well. This is a long time ago. But Green Legion is one of those organizations that helps get the Eagles fans to a certain destination. Usually a pretty good deal. They'll hook you up with a stay, a plane ticket, bus ticket, whatever you need, and then they have a big group tailgate, like it's an all-in kind of price type thing. There's a few organizations or groups, like fan groups, that do those things. I've done that within that group, pretty good deal. I've done it with just friends where you just went out to Vegas for one. The thing is that I'll say is, like, most of these road games, these road trips have not been very fruitful, but I can't complain now. My Eagles resume over the past calendar year is pretty pretty undeniable.
It's just the people that travel for these teams. I salute you. I just wonder how you get those prime seats.
Oh yeah,
because it's an expensive ticket.
Oh, absolutely.
Everywhere you go.
And I'll say, in the past, that September game in Tampa Bay has not been kind to the Eagles. It's unbelievable that the way they were able to handle business, made it a little scary toward the end, but handle business. My brother Jason he went a couple years ago, the year after the Super Bowl, and he was like, first off, they got their butts kicked, and he was like, it was miserable. It was so hot. It was like it was like 109 degrees. It was too hot to even, like, I didn't even want the beer you can't even, like, it's just it's just gross. And that's why they schedule all those teams early, because they can't handle the heat. Like, the Bucks start every year like 3-0, 4-0 because they front end all the good teams, and nobody can deal with that heat down there. I mean, so to pay that and deal with that is, at least they got to see a win.
And who did the Birds play Sunday?
They got the Broncos back home.
Okay, so we have to say, go Birds.
Go Birds.
Go Phils.
Go Phils.